Good morning from the East Coast to South Africa, folks. Welcome back. This is Chris. I guess it's time to start making videos specifically focused on President Trump's refugee program for Afrikaners suffering from unjust racial discrimination, as he described it. Well, I posted a video last night because there are people who now say that they're going to America under the program, under what I would call a proof of concept that's taking place. This is the U.S. government who's done preliminary investigations, preliminary interviews, and now it appears are potentially preliminarily sending a batch of people over to get the program underway. There's been no public announcement from the U.S. government, so to the public's knowledge, there is no program that exists. However, there is U.S. law and there's an executive order, which means that the president and the government can act at any time they choose to. They don't have to announce a program. I would wish they would, but we don't know. So there's a posting on my video from last night that gentleman starts out well, but then spreads complete nonsense. And I'm going to address that now because this particular post encompasses many of the fallacies, the misleading statements, and the outright lies or misunderstanding about immigration, about asylum, about refugee status. All right, so let me talk about this. I'm going to read it, then read my comments and analyze this for you. But before I do that, once again, I'm encouraging no one to go to the United States as a refugee. I'm discouraging no one from going to the United States as a refugee. I find it sad and horrific that anyone would want to leave their home country, particularly a wonderful place like South Africa. But I understand the fear and the horrors that many people have suffered here, and the indignation and the recent rise in racial hatred directed against minorities, specifically whites, by a segment of South Africa's population, but not by the majority of South Africans. It's horrific. It's unfortunate. I understand why this program was created and I understand why people would want to take advantage of it. That said, stay off my lawn. There are no FEMA tents in my front yard. While we're at it, there are no FEMA tents for anyone. So this is what the gentleman said, Pale Rider-K6B on YouTube. It is sad that our fellow countrymen think this is a solution, but I understand your desperation. Well, that's very sympathetic, and thank you for that comment. It's certainly reasonable. I agree. He continues, in my opinion, this is a risky bet. Well, that's interesting. How's it a risky bet? Of course, anytime you leave your home country is a risky bet, regardless of circumstance. Even if you're a billionaire, it's a risky bet. Things in the U.S. change every 4 years. Yeah, and people change their socks and underwear every day. We hope. What's your point? Trump is deporting Latin Americans to protect American jobs. The optics of him then importing white Africans does not look good. Do you want to be in the middle of that? This is also an executive order and not a law passed by the House. We know that these get changed as soon as a new president takes over. What happens to these refugees after the next election? Remember, being a refugee is not going for a visit. You forfeit your right to your home country, and you're also subject to limited privileges in your destination country as well. All right, now that short, brief statement, if it's well intended, is so full of rubbish that I have to talk about it. All right, things in the U.S. change every 4 years. That's untrue. The Immigration Nationality Act of 1980 governs the refugee program. 3.1 million refugees have resettled in the United States since the law was passed over 40 years ago, including under the Trump administration. Trump is deporting criminal alien invaders, not lawfully arrived refugees. So I said, please do not intentionally or unintentionally spread propaganda. You are mistaken or poorly informed. The people being deported are criminal alien invaders. Yes, there's a case of someone who had a resident green card, but they didn't come as a refugee. They got it fraudulently, and that's why they're being deported. The optic of him then importing white Africans does not look good. Well, my response to that be the only reason it looks bad is to bigots and racists. Trump imported tens of thousands of people from all over the world, people of color, yes, from 2017 to 2021 under the refugee program. Virtually none of those people were white. Bigots need to get over themselves, and only racists would be concerned that white people are being refuge in America. Protecting white people seems to be a crime or a moral shortcoming to leftists. You're a bunch of scumbags. Hundreds of millions of white people have been slaughtered while people do nothing to protect them. Jews, Russians, Ukrainians. This is an executive order, not a law passed by the House. Well, that's correct. Trump did issue an executive order, and he can rescind it at any time, as could the next president. But the commenter is implying that this means folks will get deported. That's poppycock. Refugees never go home, folks. They never go home. That's why people are so reticent to take refugees in the first place. Now, they will get sent home if they committed fraud, like people are accusing Ilhan Omar of having done. But no, you see no actions taking place in her case, even though she's a very prominent, outspoken, American-hating, Christian-hating, white-hating scumbag from Somalia, who has more loyalty to Somalia than she does the U.S. Constitution. She's not being deported. Librarians came over to the United States in 1990 on a special proviso for 3 years. They're still here 35 years later, and they will not leave. He says, remember, being a refugee is not going for a visit. You forfeit your right to your home country and are also subject to limited privileges in your destination country as well. Now, folks, that's absolute rubbish. You forfeit nothing. No country may revoke your citizenship because you're a refugee. It's simply not accepted in the international system. They also cannot revoke any other rights because you became a refugee. You fled because you're in peril. No one can punish you for that. And any country that tries that will be an international pariah. If South Africa revokes the rights of people who flee under this refugee program, you better watch out, because Trump will harm South Africa, because that violates international norms. While Amnesty International runs around and lies about Trump, saying that he's violating international norms and he's undermining human rights, here he is protecting human rights of people. And if you punish those people, you will suffer the consequences. It's as simple as that, folks. So this guy is really spreading the bullshit deeply here when he says that. Limited privileges, such as the only thing a refugee cannot do when they arrive in America is vote. That's it. You have the right to free speech. You have the right to free worship. You have the right to travel wherever you like. There is nothing that you cannot do in America. This is utter nonsense, folks. Where do people come up with this stuff? I swear, it's unbelievable. Refugees in America have the exact same rights, privileges, and protections as any American citizen. You're protected by our Constitution once you arrive as a refugee under U.S. law, Immigration and Nationality Act. It's as simple as that. You have the same rights. What rights don't you have? Now, this seems to imply the nonsense that was spread in the early stages of this program when people went on media in South Africa and lied about the program, and consultants from Canada lied about the program, saying you can't, being a refugee is a black mark. It's not a black mark. It's an international norm to protect people from peril. The world sat by and watched the Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge murder millions of Cambodians. The world sat by and watched the Nazis murder millions of Jews and communists and homosexuals and socialists, and Roma and Sinti and Soviet prisoners of war. The world sat by and watched while 850,000 people were hacked to death with pangas, machetes in Rwanda. That was the third incident. Rwanda and Burundi had episodes of this horrific violence going on since the 1950s every so often. The world sits by and watches the Ethiopian army murder and execute conscripts from Tigray in their recent war. The world sits by and watches one thing after another. Being a refugee is not a black mark. It's an internationally recognized and protected status, and it does not abrogate your rights to your home country. That is hogwash. Utter nonsense. Now, initially, I thought the author was well-intentioned because of that first sentence, but after reading his entire post, it's obvious that he wishes to spread lies. If the person, in fact, isn't trying to spread lies and is genuine, I would recommend spending an hour looking up the law and learning about the U.S. system of governments, which he has so badly mangled here. I mean, this is ridiculous. The reason I did this video is because I'm sick of people lying. It's very easy to find the truth. Anyway, stop being lazy and stop hearing the lies. Oh, I can't go. I'm too old. Who told you that? Where did you get that garbage from? If you listen to fools, that's on you, not on me. I don't know what to tell you, folks, other than be smarter than this, okay? Please, be smarter than this. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today. Best of luck. Cheers.